What's going on, everybody? So today I'm going to be tying together two individuals. We got Karl Marx and Angela Davis. I'm going to give you Karl Marx's basic insight throughout the constant thread of history up until our current economic system that we're under, and then I'm going to channel Angela Davis to explain how we got to our current prison industrial complex. So, stay with me here, alright? I got a nice GIMP stream set up here for us all. Let me get us going here. Let's do 1400 by 1400. That's pretty good workspace, right? Am I right? I'm right. I'm super right. So, we're going to need a fun font. Well, we're dealing with Karl Marx, so this is a pretty good font, I think. Right. Bada bing. Bada boom! Neat. Cool. So that's what we're looking at. So we have a thread of history here. This is our thread. That's what a thread looks like, isn't it? Isn't it beautiful? The contour, the detail. That's what history is. This is history. And we're going to be looking at three major paradigms of economic whatever mode of being. The first is, ready for this one? Slavery. Okay. And the major dynamic of slavery is such that you have a master, and underneath of that master you have a slave that works for that master. So let's talk about labor, shall we? So you're a slave, you're a worker of some shape or form, and you have your work day. So a certain chunk of your workday is going to be spent working for things that are going to come back to you to ensure your continued well-being. So in other words, a certain chunk of your day is spent securing your food, water, shelter, basic materials for survival. You're going to work for your master so that he can get that back to you. That is what a portion of your work is going towards, securing the bare minimum for your survival. And what that is called is necessary labor. Okay? Easy enough? Slave does necessary labor to keep himself alive. Bam. Now, the rest of the work day, because he doesn't just get to go home after that, after he secures the bare minimum for himself. He's got to continue working for the rest of the day, and that is all surplus generated for the master to profit off of. So that is literally called surplus labor, because it's surplus for the slave. It's not. It's surplus for them, right? It's not going directly towards their survival. It's going towards someone else. So that is surplus. All right? Slavery, master slave. And slavery was very, very awful. Very, very, we all know this, goes without saying. I'm going to put a frowny face next to that. So continuing through the thread of history. Now we have, starts with an F. Can y'all say it? That's right. Feudalism. Okay. Now, feudalism took the dichotomy of master and slave and did this. Made a little pyramid. All right, because now we don't have master and slave. It's a little more nuanced. We have lords and nobles and aristocrats and tradespeople and yada yada. But you go all the way down to the bottom, and you have serfs that worked the land. And the average person was a serf. Like 99% of the population was serfs. It was hard to be an aristocrat, obviously. It's hard to be a noble. Hard to be born in the right family. Hard to win that birth lottery, you know? Hard to get that winning draw where daddy's a lord. So by and large, this was the case. You had lords that owned the land, and you had, come on, serfs that worked the land. Okay? So, serfs, again, they sit on the land that the lord owns. Okay? And the lord, in return, grants them safety, right? You live on the king's land, you don't have to fend off bears and wolves and stuff. You got your knights and everything the Lord provides you with on that land. So you work the land for the Lord in order to sit on that land, right? So you still have that necessary labor where some of your day is spent working on that farm, securing your livelihood, your crops that you're going to eat that night, right? And the rest of the day that you're working for food that you're not going to eat, you're working for food that the Lord is going to eat and all of his little homies. So that is your surplus labor for the Lord. Okay? Now, we are going to continue our thread of history. We're here now. Ah, cool. Now, guess where we are? Guess where we are? Say it. That's right. We are at capitalism. Gonna make it bigger because it's brutal. Okay? So, and feudalism, by the way, it granted people slightly more freedom than what was available under slavery. So this was an improvement. It wasn't good, but it was like, it's kind of okay, I guess. It's a little bit better than what we were looking at. But capitalism comes along, and man, oh man, now anyone can, anyone, I say that loosely, but under the philosophy of capitalism, anyone can start their own business. There's a lot more economic freedom. You can, economic mobility. You can move around social classes and stuff like that. Pretty cool. And under like feudalism and slavery and stuff like that, if your clothing or something ripped, that was all the clothes that you're gonna get. Like you had to fix your hole in your clothing. That you only had like one or two pairs of clothes. You had work clothes and like your Sunday's best that you kept clean. And now under capitalism, like, look at all this stuff. I got stuff I don't need everywhere, right? So economic freedom, cool, very, very cool. But here's the thing. Here's the little caveat, right? This is by and large what we see. You have employers and employees. Now, with modern capitalism, post-industrialized capitalism, it gets a little weirder than that because with the internet and all that, and independent contractors are kind of a weird situation. But by and large, 99.9% of the time, this is what you see. You see employers that own the business in some way, whatever, big giant shareholders, whatever, CEOs, and then you have employees that do all the work for those employers. So what do you do while you're at work? Well, while you're at work, some of the time you are sitting there securing profits for yourself that your employer will pay for to you, that you can then use to go secure your prolonged well-being. That is your I can't spell and talk at the same time. I don't know if that's blatantly obvious, but come on. And the rest of the time that you're at work, because it does not take 8 hours for you to secure your own pay from your employer. Your employer you generate a huge amount of surplus. Wages are crumbs from your employer from the overall value that you generate for them. So a lot of what you generate during your 8 hours of work is going to be surplus labor. Cool, neat. So that's where we are. So Karl Marx noticed something. Do we notice what Karl Marx noticed? Do we see the thing? Look at it hard. Do we see the do we see the thing? Do we see the thing? By and large, you are still getting screwed by these people. By and large, you still getting screwed by these people. It doesn't go away. The basic formula is still there. Okay? So, that's Karl Marx's basic insight into history. Now, let's go back to slavery. Remember how I said our economy started off with slavery here? Well, all economies started off with slavery, but anyway. Poop. You know what, I'll do that. Hold on. Let me go through my little deletion phase. Give me a second. Okay. So, we had slavery. Throughout the 1500s to 1800s, we did this thing. There was this continent some of you might be familiar with. Looks kind of not really anything like this at all. But this is Africa. Okay. And then over here, this is, and there's Florida. Okay, and this is Texas, and like California would be like over here. So we over here, these guys hopped on a bunch of boats, went over here, kidnapped a bunch of people, and brought them back over here to work for free. So our economy got a huge jump start, right? Because like you don't have to pay these people. I mean, you absolutely should, and it took us a long time to figure that out for some reason. But yeah, we got our economy jump started. People built us this land for free, and we went, cool, awesome. But then the abolitionist movement happened, and slavery turned out can't get away with it anymore. Sorry, I had some technical difficulties here. So, the abolitionist movement happens, and, well, capitalists go, shit. What do we do now? We're used to having all this stuff built for free. Now that we actually have to pay people for this stuff, it's really putting a hole in our wallets. And then another capitalist went up to that capitalist and tapped him on the shoulder and went, you know what's really cool about this whole kidnapping from Africa thing? Is that the conditions that we kept slaves in, we noticed are extremely conducive to poverty. When you deprive people of adequate access to resources, those resource-deprived and impoverished areas are then primed to cultivate violence, right? So, how about we use this violence as justification for an increased police presence? Stay with me, because if we keep those places resource-deprived, but packed with police, we can essentially create a pipeline from those neighborhoods to prison. And why is this pipeline beneficial to us? This is Angela Davis's book, Are Prisons Obsolete? I highly recommend it. This is an excerpt from page 12. And as the U.S. prison system expanded, so did corporate involvement in construction, provision of goods and services, and use of prison labor. Because of the extent to which prison building and operation began to attract vast amounts of capital, from the construction industry to food and healthcare provision, in a way that recalled the emergence of the military-industrial complex, we began to refer to a prison industrial complex. Consider the case of California, whose landscape has been thoroughly prisonized over the last 20 years. The first state prison in California was San Quentin, which opened in 1852. Folsom, another well-known institution, opened in 1880. Between 1880 and 1933, when a facility for women was opened in Tehachapi, there was not a single new prison constructed. In 1952, the California Institution for Women opened and Tehachapi became a new prison for men. In all, between 1852 and 1955, 9 prisons were constructed in California. Between 1962 and 1965, 2 camps were established along with the California Rehabilitation Center. Not a single prison opened during the second half of the 60s, nor during the entire decade of the 70s. However, a massive project of prison construction was initiated during the 1980s, that is, during the years of the Reagan presidency. 9 prisons, including the Northern California Facility for Women, were opened between 1984 and 1989. Recall that it had taken more than 100 years to build the first 9 California prisons. In less than a single decade, the number of California prisons doubled. So here's the thing about prison and why it's good for capitalism to keep a lot of people in prison. Because in prison, you do labor. They use your body in prison. Generally, you're not just sitting around in a cage waiting for your sentence to be up. Generally, you do labor. And you're either not paid for that labor or you're paid a laughable amount for that labor. You're paid like $1.10 on every hour or something. And the materials in prison are inflated or they're made extremely difficult to acquire by normal means, aka by working for them. Books cost a lot of money in prison, so it's hard for prisoners just to even read. And that's out of the things that they even have in prison for them to read. It's not like they're going to be able to read much revolutionary material in the prison library. But that's what's going on. We switched from slavery with the master and slave and everything, and we tucked all that under the rug, and we still kind of have that in the form of prison labor, where it's not completely free labor, but the scale and immense size of it, it's slave labor. Like that's what we have. It's modern day slave labor. So that's what Angela Davis saw. And that's what Karl Marx saw up until the point he died. And this is what we're looking at today. America, don't take it from me. Look. The United States, bada bing, bada boom. Highest prison population in the world. Why? Capitalism. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Make sure to pick up all of your trash during your exit.